Welcome to Bioinformatics Recipes, a platform created to share, edit, and reproduce scientific studies. We designed this platform at Penn State with the intentions of making a data analysis more accessible to the greater scientific community. This is accomplished using a concept called recipes. Bioinformatics Recipes is a collection of commands used to perform a bioinformatic data analysis task. It's nothing but a workflow or pipeline. Anything that's executable command line like an R script, bash script, a Python code is also executable on this platform, and also vice versa. Anything that we execute here, you can download locally and execute on your machine as well. What makes our platform unique is that we give you the capability to pass parameters to these pipelines using an interface. This enables people without a deep knowledge of computation the ability to run analytic tasks. Let's go into a simple recipe to see how they're organized internally. I'm going to pick the centrifuge classification validator as a simple recipe. This recipe is a validator used to evaluate the accuracy of the centrifuge classifier. The first thing you see when you click on a recipe is the recipe information. The recipe information gives you context on the larger sense of what goes on in this recipe. It's written and edited by anyone who has write access to this project. And if we go to the left panel, we can see that there are other options related to the recipe. There's run. When we click run, the recipe interface shows up. This recipe interface is what's used to pass parameters along to the pipeline. Currently, the Run Recipe button is disabled because we're not logged in, and all of this is going to be covered in a future tutorial. This is just to show the organization of the buttons and how a recipe generally looks. But as you can see, the recipe interface gives us options to pass parameters, and it also shows us certain information like the authorization of the recipe, whether you're trusted or not, and all these are going to be covered in a future tutorial. Let's go over to the results. The recipe results have previous results that have been run using the recipe. If you can see in the recipe results, you can also see the parameters that the results have taken. If we can click on this result, we can see that for the accession number, the user gave the fish marker accession number as parameter, and the error rate was 0.02. If we scroll down further, there's a file list, and this is editable in the recipe itself, and we have the output messages that were given when the recipe was actually ran. Now this effectively acts as a snapshot of the recipe, and if you wanted to see what went inside, there is a recipe.sh, which is what's actually executed, and you can download that and run it locally. If we go back to recipe code, we can see that this is the actual bioinformatic pipeline that's executed in the background. This is what's filled in. The parameters that are given to the interface are filled in here, and when you click run recipe, you actually end up executing this script. This is where the bioinformatician would come in to edit what goes in the background, and this is essentially where the computation lies. If we go to interface, we see this is where we give parameters to the pipeline. If we wanted to take out parameters, we'd delete it from here. And if we wanted to add parameters, we'd click the buttons on the right, and we could see that the interface is expanding as we click more buttons. And as this interface expands, so does the text box right under it, the interface editor. If we want to run this recipe locally, we can of course download it pressing this button. And once we've downloaded it, you can run this recipe given that your local machine also has the same required packages installed, and you set the parameters correctly, everything is set to run. This is made so that the recipes platform is decoupled from the actual data analysis part, so you don't need an interface to run the data analysis. On our next tutorial, we're going to go in on how recipes are organized into projects and how they coincide with data and results. Thank you.